Happy holidays, everyone. My name is Tim. We're going to talk about Shohei Ohtani's incredible $700 million contract and why it might actually make good business sense for the LA Dodgers, and what is the incredible lesson that you and I can learn from all of this. Let's first cover a couple details. So first of all, the LA Dodgers have agreed to pay $700 million to Shohei Ohtani for 10 years of him playing for the team. What makes this even more extraordinary is that he's actually injured right now. That's typically one of the biggest fears that a team has, is that their star athlete will get hurt, they can't produce on the field, and now the team is spending millions or tens of millions of dollars on someone who can't even play. Here's the thing, they already know that he's injured. He tore his ulnar collateral ligament. He can't pitch for the entirety of the whole first year of his massive contract, and yet they still are paying him the amount. A couple other critical details. Just for context, the previous highest paid player is Mike Trout, who is playing for the the LA Angels, which is Shohei's former team. He broke records, Mike Trout did, when he signed a $426 million deal for 12 years. So that works out to $35.5 million per year, which is basically half of what Shohei Ohtani just signed for at $70 million a year. Comparing that to other leagues, LeBron James in the NBA is making $44.5 million per year. Patrick Mahomes in the NFL is making $59.3 million per year. None of those are even close to Shohei's $70 million a year. So I think that at this point, there's a really interesting quote that comes to mind for me. And it's from the iconic and controversial author Ayn Rand. She said, "Contradictions do not exist. Whenever you think that you are facing a contradiction, check your premises. You'll find that one of them is wrong." And one premises that we might have here is, oh my God, no one needs $70 million a year to play baseball. But in fact, I think we'll see an interesting business case here. So the very first place that we need to go in looking at this from a business perspective is actually to zoom out. For us here in the United States and Canada, it's very tempting to really only think about sports and athletes and deals that are right here stateside. Believe it or not, as big as Shohei Ohtani's contract is, it's not even close to being the biggest worldwide for athletes here on planet Earth. In fact, Cristiano Ronaldo, the soccer player, is currently being paid $536 million to play soccer in Saudi Arabia. Now you might say, well, Tim, $536 million, that doesn't even come close to $700 million, but here's the big difference. Shohei's $700 million is for 10 years of playing. Cristiano's $536 million is for 2.5 years. That's it. So the annual amount works out to about $214.5 million a year, which is triple how much Shohei Ohtani is being paid per season. Now add on top of that Ronaldo will probably bank something like an extra $90 million in endorsements, and you can see that, wow, as big as Shohei's deal is, it's not even close to Cristiano Ronaldo's and maybe even some of the F1 stars. The world's a big place. There's a lot of money in it. If we now start drilling down to baseball specifically, or even North America specifically, it's pretty remarkable to think that another athlete could come along, another baseball player, they could have the exact same statistics, the exact same performance as Shohei, and they would not even come close to being paid what Shohei is being paid if they were an American player, or a Canadian player for that matter. And this is because of Shohei's international appeal. A lot of people don't realize what a massive star that Shohei is in Japan. In fact, the population of Japan, I think it's around 120 million people or so, and that would be the same as the 5 biggest states in the United States. So if you were to take California, Texas, Florida, New York, and Pennsylvania, and took the 5 biggest states, that's the same size as Japan. So Shohei Ohtani is a massive star in the United States and in Canada, which is like around 400 million people total between the two countries. But we're bolting on another 120 million people on top of that. And what's even crazier is an athlete is a big star if they are a star in any one of these 5 biggest states in the US. But imagine if all 5 of those states were all cheering head and shoulders above for one single athlete. And that's the effect of Shohei Ohtani in Japan. He is the most famous person in Japan, arguably, I guess, like bigger than any musician, bigger than any actor or actress, bigger than any politician or business celebrity. He is like the number one dude in the entire country. Could you imagine if the top 5 states of America all agreed that one person was the biggest? It's kind of like the Taylor Swift, if you will, except in Japan. Now, advertisers in Japan have noticed this. And Shohei's new team, the LA Dodgers, don't have to guess if Japanese companies are going to be all over this, because Shohei's last team, the other team in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Angels, already have tons of Japanese advertisers throughout their ballpark. In fact, if you look at the LA Angels backstop that's behind home plate, you'll see that oftentimes like half of all the ads are Japanese. And if you look at the outfield and you take a look at all of the ads out there, those are oftentimes like 50% Japanese as well. So Japanese firms are paying millions upon millions of dollars to advertise in whatever ballpark that Shohei is playing in, especially his home field. The Dodgers get all of that immediately by having Shohei join their team. In fact, it's estimated that his last team, the LA Angels, made around $45 million related to Shohei Ohtani in terms of TV deals and overseas in terms of advertising from Japanese advertisers, et cetera, et cetera. So all of a sudden, paying Shohei $70 million a season is suddenly much more affordable when you're offsetting that with $45 million of funds directly attributable to the exact same athlete. Now, if all of that wasn't interesting enough, I think this next part is where things get extremely interesting. And it's really around the terms of the deal. So in business, there's always 2 things that we can negotiate on. We can negotiate on price and we can negotiate on terms. That doesn't change whether you're buying a car or a house or a business, or you're negotiating a contract with a vendor or a teammate or something like that. Or if you are an employee, when you negotiate with your boss, you can always negotiate both parts, price and terms. Unfortunately, the vast majority of people only ever think about the price, the price, the price, the price, the price. Well, here's the thing. If you get good enough terms, you can pay any price. Like let's say that you're going to buy a Honda Civic for $20,000 or something like that. You could actually buy that Honda Civic for $1 million. Same car, vastly overpay on the price. But what if the terms were that you only had to pay $1 a year for 1 million years? Goodness gracious, $1 a year for 1 million years. Suddenly that Honda Civic is vastly less expensive than if you're to pay $20,000 today. And that's related back to a few factors. One is the impact of inflation. Money in a few years from now is not as it doesn't have the purchasing power of today. And there's also just something called the time value of money. So if I'm going to give up money today, I'm giving up the opportunity to do other things with that money in the meantime, right? So a Honda Civic for $1 million paid $1 a year for 1 million years is actually significantly less expensive than a $20,000 bill for the exact same Honda Civic, all paid today. So let's turn back to Shohei Ohtani and how did they really massage the terms of this deal to make it such a smoking arrangement. The key feature here is that Shohei is deferring almost all of his payments. So what's happening is of the $70 million a season that he's being paid each and every season, he's actually only taking $2 million of the $70 million each and every season for those 10 seasons. What happens with the other $68 million a season? They get deferred by 10 years. So the $68 million from season 1, that will be paid out in year 11. The money, the $68 million from year 2 that gets deferred, will be paid in year 12, and so on and so forth. What are the impacts of those kinds of terms in this deal? Well, first of all, there is an on-field impact. By not being paid the full amount immediately each and every season, Shohei is allowing the team to have way more cash handy to go and buy more stars. Now, does that make Shohei some kind of like super altruistic dude? Maybe, but also maybe not, because guess what? If the Dodgers can go out and sign more big name stars and make it to the World Series, yes, the Dodgers are going to make a lot more money in terms of advertising revenue, stadium revenue, merchandise revenue, licensing revenue, but so does Shohei. The amount of money that he can make from endorsements and appearances goes through the absolute ceiling. So he's saying, hey guys, you go and invest in a winner and I'll enjoy the fruits of that a little further down the road. Now, that is not all. There's not just the on-field performance. I think one of the other huge advantages to Shohei deferring the money is that he actually gets to pay taxes in a far more favorable way. So I asked ChatGPT, I said, hey, if he doesn't have to pay taxes on $68 million a year in California, which is where his team is located, if he were to move to a tax-friendly state like Texas or Florida immediately after his contract is done, and then he starts making the $68 million a year, how much money does he actually save just in taxes? And incredibly, he'll save something like $90 million. Oh my word, $90 million. Talk about terms making the deal sweeter. Now, one of the downsides for Shohei, but one of the big upsides for the Dodgers, is actually the impact of inflation. I asked ChatGPT how much money Shohei was probably giving up, assuming a 3% per year inflation rate. And of that $700 million, Shohei is actually giving up about $248 million of purchasing power. And what that also means is that the Dodgers, his team, is gaining $248 million worth of purchasing power, all because of the terms of the deal. Now, the Dodgers are not run by idiots, okay? This is one of the world's most valuable franchises, and I promise you they have a whole department of accountants and MBAs and analysts who ran tons of different projections and forecasts and models on what they could pay Shohei and what would make it really valuable for them. I don't know this because I've never worked in that office, nor do I know anyone who has, but I can pretty much guarantee you that they've worked into their models the possibility that Shohei may end up getting re-injured again and might only play like 3 or 4 seasons. They may not even get the full 10 seasons out of him. Well, here's the thing. They're going to make all of their money back, I bet you, within that time frame, and they'll then be able to use that money that comes in to redeploy it to presumably make even more money and keep reinvesting into the team and generating a larger and larger sum of money out of the initial Shohei impact. And by the time they have to start paying that $68 million a year, I promise you they will have already multiplied the money far beyond that. And once again, this is the principle of the future value of money versus the present value of money. Presuming the Dodgers know how to take a dollar, invest it into advertising or some other kind of marketing into the business, and they know that that's going to bring back more revenue, like for every dollar they put in, they get $2 back, then they're going to be able to do that many, many times before they have to start actually paying Shohei. Now, it's not just advertising where they might put the money in. In fact, they could put it into, let's say, for example, adding a new area inside the stadium. Let's say they expand the concessions. And maybe that costs them $250,000 to do. And they know that based on the number of fans that come, that they can put in 2 new beer stands, 2 new hot dog stands, and 1 new merch stand. And that for the $250 that goes in, they're going to get $1 million back per year. So, I mean, I'm making these numbers up. I don't know if the 250 is 250 or the million is a million, but you can see the principle that they could invest into the stadium to find all these different ways to multiply the money that they're making off of Shohei so that by the time they have to pay him, that future cash is way bigger than whatever they put in today. I think overall that the contract is shocking to look at. $700 million for 10 years, $70 million a year. However, there are some incredibly smart people behind the scenes on both sides, the LA Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani's people as well, that when we start peeling back the layers, we start seeing some real sharp business acumen at play here, from taxation to future value of money, adjusting for inflation, all of that. And if you take only one lesson into your own life, into your life as an employee or an entrepreneur, It's that you can always negotiate price and terms. And oftentimes people are fixated on price. So here's a great line that you can tell someone you're negotiating with. You can say, I'll give you your price if you give me my terms. And they might say, sure, I mean, what's the big deal? They say their price and you say, okay, great. I'm willing to give you exactly that price. Here's the terms that I need. And give yourself some extremely favorable terms where you're paying much later or very much over time or something like that. And if your negotiating partner says, I don't like those terms, I want the money today, you can say, oh, okay, perfect. Well, if you're not willing to give me my terms, then we probably also have to discuss your price. And we can find some mix that works for the two of us. And that right there will get you out of this gridlock of someone having their arms crossing, well, no, this is the price. It's a great, great, great way to get the conversation going and the negotiation into your favor. If you found this to be interesting, please do consider subscribing. My name is Tim. I'm in Austin, Texas. I'm new to YouTube with this channel. Every like, comment, and subscribe that you provide and that I can get both encourages YouTube to continue growing this channel, and it also encourages me to keep making these videos. Thanks so much. I hope to see you in the next video.